One big thing is that in Luke's gospel, did it mention anything about Joseph having a dream? No. No, it was a distinct difference. It's actually, there's a brevity to Matthew's gospel about the birth. The Luke's interpretation is broader and more romanticized, to use the word, by Western culture. That we have come to understand the birth of Jesus in a sterile, happy, compassionate, stars in the sky kind of experience. Matthew's gospel is a little more real, I would like to call it. And the reason it's real is this. In Jewish tradition, it was as important to be betrothed to someone as it was to be married. So the year prior to your actual marriage, you were betrothed, which meant the covenant had begun. And the covenant was just as important, and you were committed to each other, and there were ceremonies that went along with all of that. And then after the year, you were married. So here we are, these two young people, and Mary suddenly is found to be pregnant. And she announces this to her fiancé, Joseph. How would you react? It wasn't quite as romantic as you might think, would it be? There might be a little bit of tension, maybe some anger, maybe all heck would break loose. It was beyond words that Joseph, his reputation was at stake, her reputation was at stake, and what the tradition was at the time for a woman to commit adultery in those days, generally speaking, the woman would have been either stoned to death, or she would have been banished from the community and sent out into the wilderness to die. So we're talking a serious offense here. So here Joseph is having to deal with this reality of his betrothed, the woman he is betrothed to and who he's about to marry. And he discovers this, and he has to make a decision. So he goes to sleep, and he has an experience in a dream that provides him the guidance that he needs to make the decision that he ultimately makes. And he ultimately chooses to stay with his betrothed, regardless of the circumstances and the consequences that were to come. If you take the romantic kind of notion away, the reality of it begins to hit home in a manner that this was indeed a catastrophic event for both these young people. And the way in which Joseph dealt with it was by virtue of his unconscious. One of the things I want to just dwell on for a moment is the power of the unconscious. How many of you have vivid dreams at night? Or remember? There's a whole school of science and a whole school of thought around dream therapy and the messages that are elicited and how our unconscious mind deals with it. And that there is throughout the course of human history and Christian history an emphasis that has been placed on what I would use the word mysticism. About the mysticism, that is the connection between our unconscious, the soul, and our external reality. And what I think we have missed in Western culture, Western civilization, is the demise or the avoidance or not paying attention to the mystical side of the human condition. That is the unconscious, the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it. Because I believe it is at that place, the mystical side of ourselves, where God speaks to us sometimes most clearly. And one of the challenges for us as human beings is to begin to discern or to pay attention to the still small voice of God that resides at that level. And I think this is what Joseph's experience was. Joseph was in such a state that God came to Joseph in a very powerful yet mystical kind of way, where he it became his reality, and he recognized after the experience of that dream that he indeed had to make the decision to stay with Mary regardless of the outcome. And that's how God, I think, speaks to us at times, is that we need to be conscious of that still small voice. But the problem for us is that we have diminished our ability to do that. We live in an extraordinary external environment, external world. All our stimuli is from the outside. And the capacity or the ability to be still or to be quiet and to hear the still small voice of God within our souls has become extraordinarily difficult and challenging for us. It certainly is for me. And somehow we need to relearn or re-embrace that ability. Throughout, again, the course of human Christian history, there are countless examples of Christian mystics that have gone and spent time in learning to tap into their unconscious place where they believe that God most clearly resides. I often compare spirituality or contemplative prayer or mystical prayer as like making a commitment on January 1st to eat better, or to go back to the gym, or to stop our bad habits. And we all know how difficult that is. We all know how difficult it is to change our behavior of living. And it's the same thing for us as Christian people, that to work hard at engaging in a new way with God takes practice, takes time, and takes effort. So I just hope that somewhere between now and the new year, you will be able to find those quiet moments where you can allow the still small voice of God to emerge in a mystical and powerful way that assists you in really appreciating the power, the celebration, and the challenge that we face today, and as Joseph and Mary faced in their day when their lives were turned over in such a profound way. So let's offer the silence for the still small voice of God to come clear to us. Thanks be to God. Amen.